just 21 miles wide. Yet this narrow strip of water controls the heartbeat of the global economy. A single threat here, and oil prices explode. This is the Strait of Hormuz. This is the story of how one nation turned geography into a weapon, and the world into a hostage. Every single day, around 20 million barrels of oil, nearly a third of all seaborne oil in the world, passes through a narrow stretch of water nestled between Iran and Oman, the Strait of Hormuz. It is the most important choke point in the global energy supply chain. Whoever controls it controls the world's oil tap. That's why Iran's grip on this strait is not just strategic, it's a geopolitical time bomb. The strait is just 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. Yet its shipping lanes are even smaller, just 2 miles wide each way, separated by a thin buffer zone. This creates the perfect natural bottleneck. Iran, sitting directly on the North Shore, uses this geography to its advantage. From its bases on Qeshm Island, the Bandar Abbas naval base, and nearby coastal batteries, Iran has every ship in its crosshairs. Their message to the world is clear. We can shut it down whenever we want. And history has shown they're not bluffing. Iran doesn't need to physically block the strait every day. They control it by threatening to. Their power comes from deterrence, the fear of what could happen. They've developed a strategy called asymmetric naval warfare. Instead of large fleets, Iran relies on small, fast attack boats, sea mines, coastal missiles, and submarines hidden beneath murky waters. Think of it like a swarm of hornets. Thousands of small vessels armed with rockets and torpedoes, darting in and out of the coastline. Hard to track, harder to hit. They don't need to defeat the US Navy. They just need to make shipping too dangerous. That fear alone costs billions in insurance premiums. And that's the point. In 2018, after the US withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal and reimposed sanctions, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani issued a warning. If Iran cannot export its oil, no country in the region will. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a threat to shut down Hormuz. That year, Iran began seizing foreign oil tankers, harassing US warships, and planting limpet mines on Japanese and Norwegian vessels. The message was unmistakable. We don't need to fire missiles. We'll just make you bleed slowly. Let's go back to 2019. Tensions between the US and Iran were boiling. In June, 2 oil tankers, Front Altair and Kokuka Courageous, were mysteriously attacked with mines. In July, Iran seized the British-flagged Stena Impero, dragging it into their waters at gunpoint. And in between, a US Navy drone was shot down. The world held its breath. One misstep, one misfire, and it would have sparked a regional war. This wasn't a hypothetical. This was Iran showing exactly how quickly they could make the Strait of Hormuz radioactive to global shipping. You might ask, why does the world tolerate this? Because the world is addicted to oil. Countries like China, Japan, India, and South Korea import most of their crude from the Gulf, and every drop must pass through Hormuz. Even if Iran never blocks it, they can still drive up oil prices with a single missile test, or a hijacked tanker. This control gives Iran bargaining power, not just with its enemies, but also with its neighbors, and the global market. It's their geopolitical ace. The US Navy knows the danger. That's why the US Fifth Fleet, stationed in Bahrain, constantly patrols the Persian Gulf. They lead multinational coalitions, run freedom of navigation operations, and escort tankers when tensions rise. But this isn't a game of numbers. It's a game of cat and mouse. Iran doesn't want open war, but they're masters at staying just below the threshold of international retaliation. They strike just enough to remind the world, we can choke your lifeline whenever we choose. Iran's control over Hormuz becomes even more dangerous when paired with its nuclear ambitions. If Iran crosses the nuclear threshold, its ability to hold the world hostage multiplies. Why? Because the stakes of military retaliation increase exponentially. A nuclear-capable Iran that controls Hormuz becomes untouchable. That's why negotiations over Iran's nuclear program are always haunted by oil prices and Hormuz. Diplomats aren't just negotiating uranium levels. They're negotiating the safety of the global economy. The future of conflict in the Strait of Hormuz won't be about battleships and bombs. It'll be about cyber attacks, AI-controlled drone swarms, and disruptions in global supply chains. It's economic warfare, where tankers vanish without a trace, ports get shut down digitally, and oil markets crash before a single bullet is fired. And Iran? They've already started preparing. With Chinese support, they've built new bases, acquired hypersonic missiles, and upgraded their electronic warfare systems. They don't need to win a war. They just need to make one too expensive to fight. The world watches the Strait of Hormuz like a heartbeat on a monitor. One skip, one misfire, and the global economy flatlines. This is not just a strait, it's a chessboard. And Iran? They've mastered the game of brinkmanship. When geography becomes power, nations become pawns. If story gripping, subscribe to Story Frames for more deep dives into power, strategy, and the untold forces shaping our world. New episodes every week. This is more than history. It's the game beneath the headlines.